Hey everyone, welcome back to the shop. So today, as you saw in the thumbnail, we'll go over some basics of how to replace a U-joint in your drive shaft. Now there's actually nothing wrong with the one that's currently in my drive shaft, other than the fact that I'm going to be adding more horsepower to my car. And the one concern I have with the U-joint I am running is the fact that it has a grease zerk fitting in the crossbar area here. So what happens is, by having this grease zerk here, it creates an area, right, a hole. You screw the grease zerk in, but it creates a fracture point as well. So instead of running a, I was not running a solid body one, right, which is this one here. There is no grease zerk fitting in any of the crossbar areas. There is a grease zerk fitting in the end of the cap, which is okay, so I can still grease it. But in the straight area here, it does not have a grease zerk, where this one does. So what I'm going to be doing is actually adding nitrous oxide to my car, and so I want to swap this U-joint out. So what I'm going to do is just kind of give you guys a couple of basics, of how to remove the U-joint, how to reinstall it. Like my yoke, for example, does not have a retention on the end. So you actually use the clips that are provided when you get a new joint on the cap here, and then that keeps it from coming out. You'll find this like on GM and Mopar, on the 60s and 70s, early 70s cars. I'm not sure when they switched over to a different style clip, but basically, this type of clip here, okay, is used to retain it in the drive shaft here. We'll have to knock them out. There's one here and one here. We'll have to remove this clip, and then we can press this U-joint out. But they're also used, on the yoke on the rear axle to keep the cap from coming out. And I'll show you an example of that. I'll crawl into my car and I'll put this in there, and I'll try to take a video with limited light so you can kind of see what I'm talking about. I think on some of the Fords, they have like a notch on the end of the yoke, so you can just slip the U-joint in there. You don't need to use, this. And actually, I've got a Ford axle here out of a 70s pickup truck that I can show you what I mean, the differences in the yoke. So anyway, guys, let's get to knocking this guy out, because the other type of clip that you could run into, I actually have one here, hang tight, is this type of clip. Maybe over here you can see a little bit. There you go. So you can see, this goes, if this was, under flush to here, what you would basically do is put it, clip it in here. You would basically squeeze this, here we're going to use the cabinet in the background, squeeze this together, and there would be a groove in the drive shaft, for example, and then, it would pop out and go into the groove of the drive shaft here, and this is a different style of clip that you could come across. So you basically squeeze this together, pull it out, on both ends, and then you can press the U-joint out. Like I said, this style here uses this style of clip, so I got to basically get a small punch this clip out, punch this clip out, and then we can press this U-joint out. So hang tight, let me set up the camera and I'll show you what I mean. And we want to find the end of that clip, right here is that clip. So we want to take our punch, and if you notice right here, okay, you can see here is that clip, and I just popped it out. So we'll do the same thing with this one right here. You can see the clip is part way out, and we can just pull this clip out. So now we got the two clips out, and now we can there's two ways that I've done removing U-joints. I'll show you the way that I've done in an emergency, and then I'll show you the way with the press. Let me grab a big socket and, punch. So the emergency way have a socket, and you want it just slightly bigger than the cap, and you know, so it fits well also on the drive shaft. Put it on the bottom like so. Support your drive shaft so you don't dent the tube or anything, right? If you dent the tube of the drive shaft, you're gonna have a balance issue. This is an old axle pin from a differential. You can set it up on here like so, right? And then drive it through. And it's starting to go. You notice it's already starting to go through and come out. So this is one way of doing it. You'll notice, see what I mean about the cap coming through? Heck, I might just finish it this way and just knock it out. But you can also use a hydraulic press and press it out as well. Alright, so you can see the cap is out. Now we got to flip it over and drive it out the other way. So that is one way to do it, guys. I'm going to go ahead and go over to the press and now finish pressing it out the way I like to do it, because I've got the tools to do it. So I'm going to press this out this way, get the cap out of here, and then we can pull the old U-joint, you know, out by running it down, you know, through the yoke. I'm sorry, through the yoke, and then slide it up and out. So let me take this over to the press. I'll press this out, and then we'll set this up and press the new one, and I'll show you that. But again, you can drive this out with a big punch and a socket and a big hammer if you really need to. And this one has only been in for a couple of years. If you've got one that's been in for a long, long time, it might be a little harder to get that one out. All right, guys, so I got the other cap out with the press. Basically, I still just used a socket underneath the cap. And basically all I did was, you know, press from the top side instead of beating it with a hammer, because, you know, I can control the press a little better. And now what I'm saying is, you know, now you can just kind of slip it down like so, and then you can see you can slip the cross out and get the U-joint out. So not a big deal. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to clean these up real good. Take like a Scotch-Brite pad, clean them up. The one thing too, guys, just make sure is you don't get the cap when you remove them, you know, crooked in the bore when you're trying to beat them out. You know, I got mine crooked for a second, so what I did is I, you know, actually, again, used this, kind of reset it, got it back flush in here, and then pressed it out. So by accident, you know, I got this little cock in there. Like I said, I drove it back in, and then, you know, pressed it out, and then it came right out with not a problem. You can see what I mean once you start getting rust and everything on these caps. You know, bought a lot of junk, you know, they're going to be harder to get out, especially with several years of service on them. This, you know, not having a lot of miles on it, you know, these came out relatively easy. So let me clean these caps up real good here, and then we'll go ahead and do the reassembly. All right, guys, so what I'm going to do next is I'm going to remove all the caps. And then I'm going to set the body in here first. Again, just kind of slip it in like so. I'm going to put one cap in on top. One cap in on bottom. As far as I can feel it to go in. We'll give her a few love taps to kind of seat it a little bit. Flip it over, do the same thing. Seat it a little bit. And now you can see what I've done is actually, this one's in a little further than it should be. This one's a little further out than it should be. What that does, it allows me to take this little half moon clip now and just push this little half moon clip in place. Just snaps in. And now what I can do is flip it over and push this side cap in so this clip seats against the drive shaft. And then I can grab another clip and pop it back in there like so. Now the one thing you'll feel is this is real tight, and I'll show you a little trick to get it to loosen up. All right, So now we've seated, you know, this against this side of the body. The groove is now there, so I can take this clip. It looks like I need to push it down a little bit more. Oh. There's two thicknesses of this style of clip, so I need to go with a thinner one. All right, there we go, slipped right in. Now the U-joint is real stiff here. U-joint's real stiff, turned. So what you do, take a hammer, you don't need a big one, hit it in this area, flip it over, hit it in this area, and it'll relieve the stress and allow the U-joint to be a lot freer. Look at that. Bada! Nice and free now. Now we've got this done. Basically now, we can just put the caps on and I can bolt this back into the vehicle. But before I do that, because my yoke needs this style of clip right here, I need to put these on. So these clips on the yoke or on the cap will keep this from coming out on centrifugal force on my drive shaft yoke. And I'll crawl under the vehicle and I'll show you what I mean. So let me pop these two clips on and I'll show you that Ford 9-inch, the difference between it, and I'll show you on my yoke the difference on it, why I need this style of clip on the caps. So centrifugal force, as you're driving down the road, these caps don't want to, you know, sprout out and fly off. And the last step, guys, is to, if you have a grease zerk, to install your grease zerk. Doesn't matter if your grease zerk is in the body of the U-joint or on the cap, you know, we can now install it. I am not going to grease the U-joint until it is in the vehicle, because if I start greasing it now, what will happen is these caps will want to, you know, work their way out, and it might be hard to get them into the yoke. So what I'm going to do is bolt this in first, and then we'll get the grease gun, give her a good grease, and that'll be the end of this. But then, like I said, let me go over and show you the differences in the yokes, why I need these clips on my caps versus, you know, the Ford 9-inch. I don't believe I need, I wouldn't need these clips because there's like a little, I don't know, piece of metal that sticks up. I can't describe it right now. I'm brain dead. But anyway, let me go show you the difference. All right, guys, so here's a Ford 9-inch, for example. And if you notice, you see how it's got this little piece of metal there, right? So when you put your U-joint, you know, into the yoke, okay, it basically will rest up against that, and it will not allow centrifugal force to push this outward like so. Where my yoke, again, does not have that, so I need this clip here, and it will actually rest in the yoke like so and prevent the centrifugal force from allowing the cap to come out. So that is the difference between my yoke and this Ford 9-inch. And I'll show you what I mean on mine here in just a second. All right, guys, so I'm under my car now. And if you notice, you see, there's no little metal nub sticking out here. And you notice the little machined area right there. So basically, my cap, you know, when I go to put my U-joint in, right, it will go in like so. And then that clip kind of goes down in there, rests up against the yoke. And then when I go to put in my strap, right, and tighten it down, now that clip prevents the yoke, this, you know, cap from flying out under centrifugal force. So I decided to crawl onto my truck real quick. And you can see this actually has a flange here, not a yoke. And, you know, here's the drive shaft. And if you notice, see that's got that clip style that I was telling you about, where you squeeze it in, it goes into the recess at the end. That's what it looks like. So you just need to squeeze that and pull that out on all four corners. Then you can, you know, hammer it out, press it out, whatever you need to. Obviously, like I said, be careful, don't damage the tube of the drive shaft. You know, maybe keep also track of which way the flange went on, maybe mark it, so that way that you don't create an imbalance issue as well. But you know, that's the different style that you'll see as well. So this way you would need to press all four out, and where in my drive shaft, you know, I just needed to press off the U-joint from the drive shaft and not, you know, the flange as well. So just a little different, you know, way of doing it, but I just wanted to show you the other way that, you know, that's on my truck. Hey guys, so I hope this video helps you understand the basics of replacing a U-joint. Like I said, mine came out relatively easy. You know, it wasn't actually broken or damaged, but I was putting in a stronger one because I'm going to be running more horsepower in my car. But it's the basics, you know. If you do have a broken U-joint, your daily, your race vehicle, you know, why you want to go with a heavier U-joint with not the Zerk fitting or the grease fitting in the crossbones, I'll call it, or you know, you know, it's just over time, right? It's just gone bad. Make sure you grease them, guys, every so often. You know, they will, you know, rust out on the inside if you don't. The needle bearings will become ground down, and that's how, you know, basically lack of maintenance will create, you know, you to have to replace your U-joint sooner than it should. Also, your driveline angles. If you guys, you know, lift vehicles and do all kinds of, you know, racing and stuff, make sure your driveline angles are correct. You know, that can cause your U-joints to prematurely fail and things too. So anyway, I hope this kind of basic tutorial helps you swap out your U-joint. Obviously, be safe when you do it. You know, the clips can spring out and fly around, you know, that kind of stuff if you're not careful. So anyway, guys, thank you very much for watching. I very much appreciate it. Hope you guys have a good time in your shop. And as they say, you know, like, subscribe, hit the little bell. You know, it helps me out tremendously. And for all my return viewers, thank you very much. For all my new viewers, I hope you enjoyed it. Take care, and we'll see you on the next upload.